All right, there we are, man.
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live stream here on my Bow Wow Bill Facebook page, my YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, please consider hopping over there and subscribing. And also on X, I'm streaming this live. So, Austin is I'm gonna pop him off for just 1 second, let him go and share this on his page, and then I'll introduce him. Austin's a wonderful dude, a great trainer that has studied with Nate Schoemer, my good buddy Nate. And Nate speaks very highly of him. He's a younger trainer. And I want to have more of these younger trainers on. Oh, look, when I go full screen, you can see my little clip here for when I post up on my window here. And while he's sharing it too, let me tell you guys, if you like what I do here, please consider supporting me on Patreon. I will be posting more content on Patreon. And for those that support me already, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll put a link to my Patreon in the comments down below. There we are. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Austin. Did you get it all shared, buddy?
Yes, sir. We're good.
Okay. Austin is the owner of Zero to Hero Dog Training out of Akron, Ohio. Actually, let you introduce yourself. Why don't you say a few words about who you are and where you're at and what you're all about?
Sure, man. Yeah, before I start, just really want to thank you for having me on. This is my first podcast. I'm very grateful, that you want to talk to a small guy like me. You know what I mean? So thanks so much for having me on, Bill.
Of course.
But yeah, what's up, guys? My name is Austin Laramee, and I'm from Akron, Ohio. I'm the owner of Zero to Hero Dog Training. And I've been training about 2.5 years now. It all kind of started. I got my own dog. He's actually a Bernedoodle, Mateo. He's a cool dog. And it was pretty funny how the whole thing started. I knew nothing about dogs. I love dogs. And I got this dog because I had a messed up German Shepherd as a kid, man. This dog would run away, get in fights, bite people. Like, it was bad. Looking back, we caused a lot of that too, bad communication. But, so I got this new dog in my first dog of adult life. And, the day I brought him home, I literally prayed and was like, I'm going to learn everything about dogs that I possibly can to give this guy a good life. So, I knew nothing. And I was like, my wife and I were struggling at the time too. We had like no money, but, I was just watching everything I could on YouTube. And I stumbled across Nate Schoemer. He was the only guy at the time that had like a full course of how to train a dog. And so I just started watching his videos and just doing it. And as I saw progression with my dog, I started to become addicted. Like, I was addicted to dog training since watching Nate Schoemer. It's just been, really cool. So it's kind of how I got started. It's pretty funny way I got started.
It's interesting that out of all these, I've done a couple hundred of these live streams and talking to people about how they got into the industry. A lot of people have got into the industry because of necessity to, based on experience they had on a dog that was reactive, or, they wanted to fix it. And they started going to other trainers and they realized that, oh my gosh, this isn't working. And so they stepped up to the plate, did the work themselves, found out as much as they could. And then once they realized that they are actually communicating with this dog, they're starting to bring an end to some of the problematic behaviors. They start to realize, hey man, it was me, the way I treated this dog, and there's a void in the industry, and they choose to step up and fill it. And what Native's told me about you, one, he says that you're good, right? You have, there are some, well, I think that there's people that have kind of once they start to learn this stuff, it becomes second nature for them.
Right.
And it's just like, okay, I get it. And I could do this all my life. And one thing that's interesting, you're 28 years old. We talked about this before the live stream began. And from 27 to 30 years old in the human mind, something very interesting happens. The neurons in our mind, they actually develop a Teflon sheath around the axon. Do you know about neurobiology?
Not too much, no, sir.
Okay, so we'll talk neuro. Let me biology. Just so we can I can show you what the neurons look like here. Let me see if I can find. Oh, these are cool.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty sick.
I'll share this page here. Whoops. But basically, what happens is that so there's the dendrites, the axon, and the soma of the neurons. Those are basically the three parts, right? And when I'm going to show this neuro, axon, soma, dendrites, and the reason. Okay, here we go.
Going to
Share.
school today, man.
Yeah,
Let's go.
we're learning.
Awesome.
Open link in new tab. Okay, so let me see if I could share this. Stop sharing. And this is what's cool about this stuff, man, is that the reason why I talk about this stuff is because we have so here we go. Cell body. They call it a cell body. The soma is a cell body. Okay. And then the dendrites. So these little things here, can you see my little hand on
Yes.
the so these are what extends out to other neurons. Okay. And then the synapse of synaptic terminal here, it will connect with those of other neurons. And so this is how we form neural networks. These neurons start to fire together, and there's a term that says fire together, wire together. Okay. And
Okay.
what happens around your age is that this part right down here, the axon, you see these little gray blocks?
Yes, sir.
Those are Teflon sheaths. And what happens is at 27 years old, those start to really form. And it starts to settle our mind. It starts to we start to what I call we get out of the monkey mind mode as a youth and start getting into the adult mind where we can cognitively really we can determine what we want to do in life. We can start to fall into that person who we truly are, and we start to discern, and we start to really, really get into that kind of relaxed state of like, okay, I can do this. Another. Does that make sense, Austin?
Yeah,
How?
no.
And
Totally
so
makes sense.
you're at that age right now, right? And so, let me pull this. Where do you feel it? Do you feel your mind starting to settle?
100%. I'll say kind of everything before starting my dog training journey, I kind of was just out floating in life, trying to. Oh, Nate's awesome, man. You're great too, brother.
Shout out to Nate. What's up, buddy?
Thank you, sir. But I kind of floated around. You know what I mean? I was going 9 to 5, 9 to 5. Didn't do the college route, and I never really felt like I was good at really anything. I mean, I sing and everything. I make music, but that's not, you know, art is subjective. But once I started training dogs, I literally had the aha moment. Like it was something that I was finally super, like naturally good at, and that I was just addicted to. I mean, I was nuts with. I would work these long hours and then go home and train my dog for hours and just hang out. I was addicted, man. I could totally see that happening. Like it's like the first time I have this clarity. I'm like, oh my goodness, like I know what I want to do in life. It's been such a blessing to me.
Well, let me show you too, so you can kind of get an idea of what this looks like. I mean, this is like, so we have the neurons right here. And remember, we have that cell body, then the axon. And then if you notice down here, right, those are tied into the dendrites of the other neurons, right? And so they start to wire together. And so, yeah, man, you're not floating. You're starting to get grounded.
Yeah, right.
In the good way, you know, not
Yes,
grounded
sir.
from the wife
Yes,
or but the reason why I talk about this stuff and the reason why it's important to know is that we as mammals, we possess these characteristics, and that's how our brain works. And a dog is a mammal as well. And so they have the same stuff. So what we're doing is we're working with behavior. I love this. It does all these weird little, hold on, let me see if it will, I don't know. But so basically what we're doing when we're working with dog training is that we're rewiring, or we're getting the neurons to be wired together in a way that the dog's behavior becomes reflexive to the commands that we give, and it opens up the lines of communication between human and dog. And then taking it a bit further too, like one of the biggest problems that I see is people anthropomorphizing or putting too many, like it's good, some aspects of anthropomorphification, or putting human characteristics upon the animal are okay, but it's not okay when you start to make excuses for the dog's behavior based
Yeah.
on, inaccurately labeling what the dog is doing based on your own perception.
100% agree. No, I see that a lot. It's very common.
Yep. Well, and that's why we're talking about today the unlocking the human dog human communication, and I'm glad that we've started on the neural network, and so
Yeah.
you got a labradoodle, and you
Bernadoodle.
started Bernadoodle. Excuse me.
Yeah, Bernadoodle, man. Nah, he's a cool guy though.
Bernadoodles are cool, man. I actually have a golden doodle sitting right next to me
really?
here. Yep, just arrived yesterday, and her name is Cinnamon. Shout out to Cinnamon's
Cinnamon.
family. Yep, and so Cinnamon has come to me, and she's for training. I don't do too many board and trains, but she is here to be trained up as an emotional support animal.
Oh, cool.
And I have her here with me because I want her to start to experience life and training and learning how to calm herself down in a new environment without protest or any of that stuff. Like I'm bringing about stability to this dog based on her experiences on day one that she comes to me.
I love that you said that. That's a big one. I'd love to touch on that sometime too. That's huge.
Well, we can touch on it right now. Why do you think it's huge?
So when I'm doing a board and train, I'll just bring up, I have this severe aggression case. It's really fear. And again, fear gets thrown around by a lot of trainers just as a cop out, but this really is fear. But I talk about conflict a lot. And when you take a dog, like this dog has bit 5 humans. Every incident is almost the human's fault, even though we don't want the dog doing it. But I'm a big fan of just clarity of intentions. Okay. Meaning when I get a new dog, especially a dog that struggles with humans, I want this dog to feel like we're both together, especially in environments where we're just hanging out. Like I'm not going to put this dog to work right on day one. Like I'm going to hang out with the dog, feel the dog, we're just going to go for a walk on a long line. But this dog has to see me as the guy who gives, freedom and cool things with. Like, I want this dog to really trust me. And so this dog, day one, of course, I had to put her in the crate. I don't even like the first experience of me putting the dog in the crate be the first time. So I have the owners do it. But I went to put this dog in the crate because we had to leave, had some bite gloves on. And of course, she bites my hand up. No problem. But here's the thing, like day one, the previous training she went through, I know the first time she bit the trainer, they probably crucified that dog. And that dog is already in the mindset of humans suck. So what do you think day one, a dog that bites, they get corrected. That dog goes, my prophecy's been fulfilled and humans suck. So of course she bit me. I did nothing, like just nothing. I did nothing at all. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I put her in the crate and we had this moment where we locked eyes and she was like, that was different. Like I've never seen it this way. Like I did nothing. And anytime she wanted to bite me, I just let it happen. I just pretended it didn't happen. I'm like, okay, cool. You're done. Let's go for a walk. And she's just, by the end of the first week, I mean, I wake up and she's just happy to see me. And she's like, we're going to go do cool stuff together. Her prediction error was this guy's going to approach me and bad things are going to happen. He's going to want to fight back. I'm a little nervous. I'm going to bite out of reflex. But I changed the prediction error where she goes, oh, we're doing nothing. Like I probably didn't tell her to come or sit or anything once the whole first week she was with me. I think we just went in the woods twice a day and I just let her run around on the long line. So through that, she started to learn like, okay, this dude has good intentions, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Where a lot of trainers, I feel like day one, they put every dog in the same boat. We're going to do this day one, day two, day three. And the dogs are still like, who are these people? What is this environment? And they don't ever push the clarity of intentions onto the dog. The dog assumes that, cool, these people have a hidden agenda and they want to make me work for things. Even if it's food, that's fine. But I have a huge take on just letting a dog come and showing the dog what your intentions are before you start expecting the dog to do things.
That's right. Well, it reminds me of the word conflict, right? That's what the first thing that you said. And this, and going back to what we were just saying about the neural network, like this dog has started to develop, hey man, as soon as I get uncomfortable, it's natural for me or anybody to be in a fight, flight, or freeze modality, right? Because their body is flooded with doubts, fears, anxieties. I'm in a new situation. I've never seen this. And her default mode is to fight, right? And so when we look at the definition of conflict, well, actually, if we take it a step further, which I'm total geek, dude, where I actually look at the root of the word, right? And so the root of the word comes from together, like Congress, congregate, convene, right? That means come together. So that's the prefix. And then figere, or I don't know in Latin, but to strike. Right. And so a conflict is to, once you've come together with this dog, her choice is to strike. And so I think that's interesting, just kind of a side note on right. And then what happens is that then she develops another conflict of the person striking back, and it starts, the fight is not only valid in her eyes, but now it's on. And so it increases her awareness to always be in that fight or flight mode, because now her assessment of the situation has been confirmed. And so instead of correcting that behavior and showing the dog don't do this, you're actually confirming the behavior and showing the dog do this more.
Yes.
That makes sense. And so when we come together, the dog starts to strike out and it's met with a neutral target. Her assessment has now been unconfirmed.
Yeah, it blew her mind. She was like, I can't believe it attacked me, you know. She we locked eyes for the first time with her probably confusion, just like, you didn't do anything about that. And I'm like, you know, you could do whatever you want to me right now. I'm not going to retaliate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm going to show you I'm a good guy. I'm going to show you that there's people. And just like there's sometimes too where, there's some behavior once I've established a relationship that, if you bite me, and I'm going to come back at you because we have already an established relationship, and I need to show you that I'm nothing to mess with. And I call that a come to Jesus, as we talk about the crucifixion process, the prophecy coming fulfilled. I'm a big Catholic too, so I love that stuff. And it's something that it takes. You know, I want to commend you for having this understanding of, like, we observe first, and then we work with the dog. And then as we work with the dog, something that to remember too is that with these neural networks, how they get established is, well, first experience. And they can be established like hardline, and they get hardline established when trauma is inflicted. Okay, so if we go up and touch a burning stove, we need that hard line established so we don't do that again. So it kind of sears. But there's types of behavior that needs time because it's not hard line through trauma. It needs time and experience to become wired in permanently, become habit. And they did an experiment with astronauts where they actually took these inverted lenses and put them on their eyes, so they saw the world through upside down, and they measured how long it was going to take for the brain to reconfigure to put the images in the brain, or in that they're seeing come in, the input, to be reconfigured the correct way. And what they found out was it was a 28 to 45 day for the brain to start readjusting that image that is being input into the mind, into the visual cortex. So it's the same thing with dogs, man. When you start to study about behavior, study about habits, then we start to see the window of what we're working with and the time that we need to have to expand out. And I call it the messy middle, to get through the messy middle, right? Of having a dog that's reactive to having a dog that's calm and confident. And that's not going to happen overnight. It starts to really establish itself
Yes.
within the 28 to 45 day period. And that's important for people to understand as well.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's just, I won't speak for everybody, but a lot of people in my city is like, I've been training 2.5 years, and I'm putting out results that are better than almost every trainer out here. Not in a braggadocious way, but almost in a way that I think it's very sad, because I don't know everything at all. And I'm like, I'm literally below average compared to the people I look up to, like Larry Crone and Nate Schoemer. But I just have that passion there. You know what I mean? And passion drives you to always want to get better. But I'm having to, like, I'm quickly becoming the aggressive dog guy around here. And a lot of it is from previous trainers. I'll never say a name, but it's very tiring to see a lot of these dogs coming from trainers that have been training 20 plus years. And then I'm taking the dogs and fixing them and, like, giving the dog true, like, when you talk about behavior, it's what the dog decides to do when they're in liberty. Not having to put the dog in a command, right, and manage everything, but truly, can the dog just handle any situation and just make the right choices? And a lot of people, it's like, I'll tell you this dog that I have, with me doing almost no formal obedience these past 2 weeks.
Oh, there you go. You need to put
Yeah.
D&D back on.
I don't know. I thought it was.
For all you old folks out there like me, D&D means do not disturb. I found that out from my niece. I thought it was Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, but I would say 50% of this dog's just anxiety and fear and just aggression went away completely, entirely, just by me taking her out on a long line, just letting her see. And I haven't avoided dogs and people, but I'm also not seeking them either. I don't like to let the dog get in that mindset until she's ready. But yeah, we just go out. Half of her issues are gone. And she got sent to me where she was on Prozac and Trazodone. And of course, I told the owners, I'm like, I have to have the dog at what the dog is. I'm like, take her off the meds. Got to give her a chance to show me what's going on. And, 2 weeks in, I'm like, she does not need medication. Like, she's fine. Really cool. So a lot can be achieved if you just see the world through the dog's eyes and not really push the agendas of, like, oh, I'm a business, I must get this dog looking good in a certain amount of time to make my money. You know what I mean? It's a very toxic place, I feel like, that I'm learning in the dog world, especially the pet dog training world. It's very toxic. And it kind of hit me with a blind side. I figured everybody was, like, the same. I'm like, yeah, you're a dog trainer, you must be great, and I'm getting a lot of destroyed dogs, and it's very it's upsetting.
You got to remember, Austin, is that this industry also attracts a lot of asocial type of people that just don't care, right? And they see the dog, and they can also utilize the dog to gain supply for their own narcissistic characteristics. And it's important to remember that stuff, man. Like, and once people kind of show you their cards, you got to be like, okay, good to know, right? And they're out there, man, and they hammer dogs and they flatten them out, and it's something that is it's bullshit, dude. That's where, like, and we see, I try not to get caught up in that drama, but it's hard to see, man. And I have trainers here that I can tell you right away, like, this dog has been through so-and-so's course. And they're like, yeah, how'd you know? And I was like, because I see the telltale signs.
Yeah.
Whether it's the tools that they use or just how they train. And as somebody that has traded their life for this, to understand the dogs, and just like you, I have a passion for this. I've wanted to do it since I was a little kid, and I'm always learning, right? And there's something that there's no finish line here. And I think that some people in the industry, they think they got it figured out. Like, no, this is the way to do it, and there's no other way. And there is another way. There is another way, and it starts, in my opinion, with the relationship aspect of building that relationship.
Yes.
And it works with people too, man. Right? It's just like when we were talking at the beginning here, like I'm looking at you, young kid, well, a young adult,
I'm a kid
youngster.
too, man.
Right. But we talked about skateboarding. I'm
Yeah.
looking at you. I see some stuff. You had a tattoo of Thrasher magazine, which is a skateboarder magazine. And that's one of the first things that you and I talked about is skateboarding, who I like. I never asked who you liked.
I'm kind of new, big fan of Nigel Houston. He's like my generation skater.
Okay,
Really
I've
cool.
never heard of him.
Yeah, he's younger. Nigel Houston, but me, Rodney Mullen also was a big guy. I like all the technical stuff, dude. If you talk about OGs, Rodney is sick, man.
I think the reason why I bring up skateboarding, one is, well, let me touch back on what I wanted to bring this in, why I wanted to bring this in is that this is how you and I started to build rapport. This is how
Yes,
you
sir.
and I started to build the relationship. It's like, okay, man, we got some commonality here, even though we're about ready to hop on this live stream where we've never met, we've never really spoken for a long period of time. We kind of reach out and start to build rapport. We start to build a respect for each other on a commonality that we share. And another aspect of the skateboarding is you learn, man, these young kids, they blow me out of the water. Like, and I asked, like, I've been to skate parks and I've seen these kids. I'm just like, man, you're a savant. How long you been skating? They're like 2.5 years.
Right.
Right. And so we have to, it's not just important that we build a relationship, but that's why I like talking to new trainers, because sometimes with new people coming into the fold, they might know stuff
Mm.
that we don't, or see things in a different light that we can gain knowledge and advantage of. And, one thing that I've learned from you already is there's a word called braggadocious.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man.
You said, I don't mean to braggadocious. Right. But it's the understanding that stems from the passion that we have. And one thing that I've learned too is that there's a lot of dog trainers that have passions that are other than dogs. There's so many dog trainers that are artists.
Yeah.
And I call dog training an art and a science.
It is an art. It is a science too. Yeah. I always call it. I tell all my clients when I send a board and train home after when we start doing our lessons, I'm like, hey, like this is art now. I'm like, I can't let you mess the sculpture up. I'm going to help you maintain and everything, like it's literally art. Seeing a dog that is like struggled its whole life wanting to kill other dogs or whatever, fearful, and then a dog that can just be happy and free. Like that's art, man. Like hands down.
Yeah. Because art is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. You look at it, you're like, man, this is,
Yeah.
yeah.
And a lot of people too, they find it impressive, like all the tricks, the handstand, the place on a fire hydrant, where like that's cool. But really, for me, what's impressive, especially when looking at a trainer, is like watching how the dog looks in Liberty. Like it always goes back to Liberty. Just how is the dog outside of command? Like that's the art for me. Like, is the dog's heart and soul changed, or are you having to make decisions for the dog so the dog can't make mistakes?
That's right. Management. Are you managing this dog, dude?
Yes.
And another thing that's very unique is that we step into these roles as dog trainers because we hate being managed, dude. We don't want to have a real job where somebody's over our shoulder and telling us what to do. Well, if you don't like that, well, guess what? Your dog sure as hell doesn't like that. And Liberty, we're in America, damn it. Liberty, land of the brave, land of the free, home of the brave. But Liberty, when we look at the word liberty, it essentially means freedom, right? The free domain to do whatever we'd like. It doesn't mean that there's not consequences for the choices that we make during freedom. But the one thing that's really interesting is when we look at the word liber, or the root here. Now I got to go to the roots, dude. So hold on. Man. Is that when we look at liberty here, liberty, and dude, you guys, if you don't know the roots of the words that we speak, so there's epistemology, which is the study of knowledge, but there's also etymology, which is the study of language. And man, you will pee your pants when you start to start to realize what we're saying. And it's to me, it blows my mind. I have a Latin and Greek dictionary. I study Hebrew, Aramaic, all that
That's
stuff from, right, because this is where we have gotten the way that we're talking now. So liber means free. So essentially, here, let me show right here, liber, right, in Latin. But the other thing that it means, you guys, watch this. Liber, so we already determined liber means free, but look at what it also means, you guys. In liber. So AI is helping me out here. So liber means free, but guess what it also means, you guys? Book.
Interesting.
Library, library, right? So the root. So to me, it essentially means that the more we educate ourselves, right, the more free that we are.
That's deep, man.
Yep. And now it's been kind of bastardized with the liberals, right? I'm a proud liberal, but not in the modern day definition of liberal, right? But I am a liberal. I do believe in freedom, and I do believe in reading and learning as much as we can to advance my own freedom.
Yeah, I would say knowledge is freedom for sure. The more you know, the more you're free, but also the more you know, the more it affects you mentally too, because you're like, yo, there's a lot going on.
Yep.
Like the more I know about dogs, it feels like the less I know. Like it's insane. Like I literally feel like I know nothing. Like it's nuts.
Yep. Nate says, understand the science and you can master the art. That's right. The science is a framework, right, that we build the art upon. And so as a glass artist, like the science is propane and oxygen, right? The gases that I work with that brings up the temperature, and knowing how long to anneal, knowing what different colors react with the different flames and how to work with them. Same thing with like oil painting, how long it's going to take to dry the first layer. So now you can apply the second layer. The techniques that each brush, will affect the painting, right? So that's the science. But once you've understood the science, then we start to do the art.
Interesting. I would say Nate definitely helped form my mind on that. When we met up to go do that seminar with Larry, two ADHDers talking for 14 hours straight. It was awesome. But I walked away from that meeting him for the first time and just like really taking it to heart of like really diving deep into the science of everything. Like he was, the main takeaway was just always ask why. Like, why do you do something? And that has caused me to learn so much more just in the month that it's been since I've met him. And it was, and I've actually applied that to everything. Like if I hear a term or I see something that I may be doing, I'll ask, okay, why do I do this? And I'm figuring out, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't really know the reason. I got to go search about this. And why does this work? Like, give an example, sniffing, the long line, right? Letting the dog explore. I used to just, I do this because it helps the dog. But now Nate's like, no, you need to ask why. Why does sniffing and being free help a dog? Well, the sniffing can result in the cortisol levels to go down, which results in stress being decreased, So asking why and having that mindset of always understanding the science has helped me a lot. Like I used to not really care about the science too much. I kind of just was like, oh, here's what I do. But knowing why it works is big game changer for sure.
The why, I tell people, is the power. The power behind what you're doing. All right. And so instead of spinning your wheels in causality, now we have the why of why we're doing what we're doing. Right. And so that's the power that we have. And sometimes it's just like, have you ever seen Karate Kid?
Yeah. The old one or the new one?
I like the old, dude. I'm old.
The OG one. Yeah,
yeah, the OG. Yeah. Where he's all wax on, wax off, polish the car, right? All this stuff. And the why comes together later, right? And so a lot of times with the fundamentals of learning this stuff to develop muscle memory, the why might not be apparent right away too. And so we seek that out, or through experience, we realize, oh, it all
Yeah.
starts to come together, right? And we have this moment of clarity of like, okay, now I understand. And there's a saying that hindsight is 2020. So now we can look back 2020 vision and say, oh, okay, cool. That's why I did that. That's why I'm grateful
Yes.
to do that as well.
That's a good point, man. Yeah, you always
Yeah.
got to know why.
Yeah.
Takes you farther.
And just like you said, like looking back at what I just said about hindsight is 2020, you said something very, you dropped a pearl of wisdom earlier, Austin, about looking through the dog's eyes, seeing the world as the dog would see the world. And that's what I'm always encouraging my people to do. And I think that helps us understand the why when we can kind of become the dog by proxy.
Yes. Understanding. Yeah. And just seeing the dog through the dog's eyes, like a lot of owners, a lot of problems, are just caused by the owners putting human feelings or human emotions on the dog. Like I had a lady, I'm not going to say her name, but she would laugh. I'm working with her recently. She has this really reactive German Shepherd, and I meet her at the eval, and the dog jumps up on me, and she says no. Like she says no, and then she's just like petting him at the same time. No, no, and I'm like, hey, that makes no sense to the dog. I'm like, I'm assuming no is your word that you want to communicate to your dog, but you don't want him to do that. But I'm like, your actions are conflicting the dog. You're making no sense. And, we had that conversation. She's like, it makes so much sense, because I tell everybody, like, your dog does not know English. We have to teach English to the dog. The dog knows its own language, so we got to pair our language with their language and connect the dots. So yeah, it's always important. Or like, I don't let a dog grab a toy when we're playing, right? Like that's the first boundary. I usually introduce no through play. And, so most dogs, you pull the toy out, they want to immediately grab it. Well, of course, I'm teaching her this. She says no, pulls it away. And I was like, look, the dog is seeing that as the cue to grab it, but you're saying no, so you're conflicting. You know what I mean? So it's like, once you start to take away the human side and start to see the dog through the dog's eyes, see the world through the dog's eyes, everything makes so much more sense, especially when you're talking about fear.
Yeah.
Fear is a big one.
Well, then there's that conflict again.
Yeah.
Right.
Always goes back to conflict.
Right. Then strike out. The dog wants to get that toy. And so you start to make sense of like, okay, I see. And that's where it's important too, to help our clients develop new habits, and they develop new habits by the understanding of the why, what we were talking about earlier. But it's also important to give them grace,
Oh yeah.
because they're going to make the same mistake. And I'm going to tell them, look, I make mistakes sometimes too. Like this is something that, like, I don't live in a utopia of dogs at all.
Yeah.
Right. Just like, and I have to, just let them know, hey, look, we've gotten down this path. It's going to take some time to learn new behaviors on the dog side and new behaviors on your side on your side too. So be easy with yourself, be easy with that dog, but I'm here. And that's where I talk about that messy middle. I'm here along this messy middle
Yes.
as a teacher. But as long as I'm a good teacher, I'm going to become progressively unnecessary, because you're going to get it by understanding the why. You're going to get it by the repetitions, and you're going to get it by seeing the results, and then getting to the other side of this relationship where we've established a good, solid relationship of trust. We build rapport, we build power, we build everything by understanding, that we built this structure where we can stand under it, right? So we understand. we feel confident enough. We were like, okay, cool. This thing ain't gonna fall on top of me because I'm standing under, or I understand. So
every time, it's super stressful for the everyday person who has no dog training abilities. It's to start learning these things. I mean, you could easily overwhelm somebody. It's and I feel like a lot of trainers, well, maybe not a lot of trainers, just me in particularly though, it's you have to lay it on in a way that makes sense for the owner, but still being there for the well-being of the dog. You know, like there's times where I will put the dog over the owner's feelings in a way where I'm not being disrespectful, but like, hey, like this needs to stop because it's causing X, Y, and Z, and helping them to understand why it does that. Because most owners, you know, like a lot of people, they have this very unhealthy relationship with their dog emotionally in the beginning, where say pushiness in the house, you know, the dog is always having to follow them everywhere. The dog has to be around them 24/7, and they're kind of enabling it, like, you know, just constant affection on the dog.
Talking to him, hey, buddy, hi,
Talking to
oh,
them
hey,
all the time, man, where I'm like, you know, when I'm talking about, let's say, reactivity or resource guarding the owner, I don't go straight into the reactivity. They're like, I want the reactivity to stop. And I'm like, cool. Let me chill with you for an hour in your house and just see how you interact with the dog. And I'll tell you how we can stop the reactivity. So a lot of people expect me to, cool, day one, put the leash on, dog blows up, we destroy the dog. And that's not it. Usually it's, oh, sweet, I want you to start sending your dog away when he's pushing into your space. And they're like, how does this solve reactivity? And I'm like, or resource guarding the owner. I'm like, well, your dog is, you know, when the dog approaches you, the dog doesn't see being pet the same way we would as humans. Like, we're very sympathetic as humans. When somebody's, you know, struggling, we're like, hey, we're there for them. We're very, you know,
nurturing by nature. That's what I say.
But with dogs, it's almost the opposite. The dog sees, you know, the affection almost as a reward. I would like to think it's out of love too, but dogs, it becomes like a drug to the dog, always needing to be pet. So I tell a lot of owners, I'm like, hey, your dog's resource guarding you. He's not protecting you. He's saying you are his property, and there's no guidance within the home. And one thing causing that for a lot of people that I meet is just the dog always approaches the owner. The owner is always like, hi, buddy. Just constant, just affection, talking. And there's never any like boundaries of, hey, go sometimes, you know, just don't care where you go, but over there, buddy, you know, and that changes so much. Just the go command alone for me is like gold. Like, it's gold for so many of my clients. It's insane.
And I use get, because go to me sounds too much like no, and I want the no to be firm. Just so you know, I say get. But you're yep, absolutely. Instead of go, I say get.
I've thought of that. Right? I've thought about that. I'm like, go does sound like no a lot. I've actually had that thought of like, should I change my word?
Yeah, and it's always, I'm reconfiguring and always like comparing the way I'm talking to this dog, even though you know, the dog might get some aspect of, because the go, g, and n, like like they learn on the like a minutia. They live in a world of split seconds. But what happens too is, like, I have to remind my clients, I'm like, what do you think your dog's doing right now? And they're like, oh, he's excited at somebody. And I'm like, no, your dog is stressing right now. Your dog is stressed. Right. Or when they say, oh, he's guarding me, I was like, this isn't guarding. Mm-hmm. Right. This dog has essentially see you kind of as a sucker. Yeah. And that's basically what it is. You've nurtured way too much, and now the dog, I mean, sometimes appreciates that. I get it. But guess what? Right. You've nurtured him to a point where it's become like a obsessiveness, where the dog now views you as a sucker, and he doesn't see a leader. And so now the dog thinks, oh, I am the leader. I'm the one that needs to, you know, maintain possession of this person. Right. And sometimes we have to introduce the antithesis of what they've been doing this whole time. And I give my clients, like, I'm like, don't talk to your dog for 24 hours. And if you say a word, the 24 hours starts again.
That's it. I say that all the time. One whole day, show your dog everything. Don't say a single word. I've done that. That's like golden, man.
And then I take it a step further once they've done that, and they're like, okay, cool. And I'm like, now don't touch your dog for a week.
Ooh, that's a hard one.
That is a hard one. But for the people that have gone through it, and I might not do a week, I might do 48 hours or something, but the big one is a week, you know, and it's such a learning experience, man, not just for the person, but for the dog as well.
And it's like every person that you've had do that, they always come back to you saying the dog has gotten better.
100%, dude. The dog has gotten better. The dog's relaxed. The dog doesn't seek me out all the time. The dog isn't underfoot.
Yes.
All right. And it's like, don't just like, I do it after the fact, because if I don't want to touch them, I want to be able to verbally say get, right? In case the dog starts to get clingy and underfoot, get, and then let the dog get. But just, it starts to get them to reevaluate and get control of the situation in a way that now you are a deciding figure in this relationship in a way that the dog respects. And when we look at the word respect,
here we go again. Let's do it.
so you know, when you wear glasses, that's spectacles, right?
Right.
So spect. Here, let's go ahead and pull up the root here.
I've never thought this deep about words, man. That actually makes sense.
Dude, etymology is where it's at, man. So respect definition, and you could just do this to Google, where you type in respect definition. Here, I'll actually show you what I'll do here. So I will show the respect definition here. I'll go to Google Home here, and so here, let's show the Google, share this tab. All right, so let's do this together. So respect definition is, I just typed it in. So you just type in respect definition, and then you come down here, and then it gives you, you know, the feeling of deep admiration, somebody. But what I want to do, you guys, is I want to go all the way down here to the Latin. Okay. And re means back, to look back, or to, I mean, it also means to like reapproach, reconsider, right? So we're looking back, we're looking, and so it also can mean like doing, like giving it a second, like we're doing it a second time. Okay. So we're taking a second look at the relationship. We're respecting each other. So back or second, and spectare, right, is to look at. So respect means to take a second look, or to take a step back and look at it again. Interesting.
I'm never going to look at that word the same.
Yeah. Well, here, let's get to the comments here while they're starting to build up. You guys go ahead and share this, you guys, if you don't mind. This is a good conversation. And you know, and Dunning-Kruger effect is a bias where people with low ability overestimate themselves, while experts often underestimate themselves due to greater awareness. And I think that the Dunning-Kruger effect is rampant in the dog training world, right? Where people will hop in the dog training world, and then they go, boom, man, I know it all. Like they just got in the dog training world. Here they are. And then boom, peak of Mount Stupid is what we call it.
Oh, I hit the peak of Mount Stupid. When I met up with Nate, like I was at the point that I was so frustrated that I was like kind of arrogant. I'm like, no, dude, I know. And then like I was humbled, man. He humbled me in a nice way too.
Yeah. And then but this is where, like, I believe that you're right about here, right? Because now you said something earlier where like the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know anything.
Yeah. It's
right. And it starts, so that's the despair. It's like, man, I don't know anything. And unfortunately, this is where a lot of people will be like, okay, I'm going to go freaking deliver pizzas or something. I'm not going to train dogs anymore. But that's like a crucial moment in your dog training career. It's like, look, I don't know what I don't know. Let me learn. And then finally you get to a place like this. That's when it becomes a slope of enlightenment. When you say, you know, there's a couple things that we can say as individuals. The most powerful thing that we can say as an individual is 3 words. I was wrong.
Amen, brother.
Yes, right? Sir. And I don't know what I don't know. That's another powerful one. But that, like, once we start to realize that and do the work on ourselves, and lay down that ego, and just like you said, you're a little cocky, and a lot of people are. I see it all the time, man. They're the peak of Mount Stupid. And then they drop down to the valley of despair and just be like, dude, I have no clue. And sometimes a dog can knock you down once you get bit or whatever, man, or you get into a situation where another dog or another person or something gets hurt. Unfortunately, in this business, it's all too common. Then we start to get into the slope of enlightenment, and then we go from the know nothing to the competence, and that's where we're starting to gain right now, is in the competence to guru. And I mean, I don't ever want to be anybody's guru or anything like that, but I
Right.
know that I'm always learning, and I'm
Yep.
always looking at new information, and we all have something to teach each other, and we all have something to learn from each other. But,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, once you think you've got it all figured out, then you build up a wall of beliefs, and any new information is first met with that wall of beliefs, and if it goes against the
Mhm.
beliefs, it's not going to be accepted into the mind. It's just going to bounce off that wall of beliefs.
Yep.
And the key is to tear down that wall of beliefs. If you think you know it, then I guarantee you don't,
You don't. No. I'm always trying to just be humble and have an open mind, not to sound good, but so I'll tell you what, like especially when I board and train a dog, I get so stressed out taking on dogs. Not, I wouldn't consider it bad stress, but I take it extremely seriously. One, there's an aspect of a lot of people I train their dogs, they went through bad training. So they're already like trainers are terrible. I got scammed. But then they're sending their dog to me. And that takes an immense amount of trust. And I'm very grateful for that. But when I get a dog, the a lot of times failing is like life of the dog scenario, like the dog's going to be put down, and I take it extremely serious, and it's something that stresses me out a lot because I don't know much. I'm a very new trainer, and I'm kind of learning as I go. It's really good to have a mentor that you can talk to. Nate's been an amazing help. He helps me with so many questions. Larry has too. But when I get a dog,
I'm here for you too, Austin. If you ever need
yeah,
it,
no, we're gonna be talking a lot now, man.
Okay.
I would love to learn more about Nate Popo. I don't know much about that training
Okay, good.
style much. I haven't studied it too much. I liked your take on it on Nate's podcast about it, and you being a multiplicator is pretty cool.
Well, I'm no longer a multiplicator right now.
Oh,
I might
really?
pick it up in the future, but no, I've been traveling too much,
Got it.
and so I'm a gold graduate. But
Cool.
yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, and you were talking about your mentors and how it's good to have that, even though you're new.
Yeah, I think anybody that wants to be a dog trainer should have somebody who is way better than them when they're learning. Like, I think you should try to surround yourself, even if you're taking courses, like you should go out and learn as much as possible. But yeah, it stresses me out when I get dogs because I just, as much as I love failure because it teaches me really good lessons, I also hate failing when it comes to dogs because failing the dog would mean the dog suffers. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
and I've had a couple dogs in the past where I didn't fully fix something out of knowledge, or I see the dog go home, and of course the home life has a lot to do with different behaviors, and I just see them struggling a little bit after I train, and it just like it gets me a lot. So I'm constantly pulling through for a lot of my clients. Like I offer free lessons for life after a board and train, not to sound good though, but just because really I consider the day that the dog goes home from a board and train day one of training. What I did was like wet concrete. I laid the concrete, but it's wet. They could go ruin it immediately. And if the owners don't know how to communicate with the dog, then it means nothing. Everything I did, completely useless almost.
Yeah, it comes unraveled.
Yeah, it's
Right.
way too easy. Like a lot of people think it's just train my dog, you're good, cool, dog's good for life, and just hit a button if the dog does wrong, and it's not that. It never is. But
Yeah, I mean it's them understanding the why, just like we were talking about why we're doing this.
yeah,
And I don't offer free training. I mean, what I'll do is I'll offer free support, right? But
right.
I don't take too many board and trains, and the reason is because of that, man. Like it's such a
Yeah,
big investment of my time. It's an investment that I have to take away from my dogs that I currently have. It's an investment that I take away from my wife, and that the time that I have, I'm bringing this dog in, and I'm essentially putting all my effort into this one dog. Where if I can help people and leverage my knowledge that help them do the job that I can do, because essentially I'm going to have to do that anyway with the board and train
right.
by meeting with you and going through. But if you understand a step-by-step progression on how we do this, and you start to invest the time and the effort, that makes more sense for me. Otherwise, I do board and trains, but I charge a lot of money, dude. And people, once they hear how much I charge, they're just like, okay, cool. How can I do this myself? I'm like, good idea. Let me show you how to do that. Oh, did Austin freeze? Are you there, buddy? I think Austin froze. So let me see. Wait till he comes back. He's frozen, so I don't know if he. Austin, are you there? Spencer, what's up, Spencer? I'm going to go through here and I will do the comments. What's up, Working Canine Dog Gear? Shout out. I love how you do definitions, Bill. Always learn from this habit of yours. I'm always learning too, right? And it's so cool when you start to realize what the heck we're saying, right? If we're putting out into the world these words that are essentially just vibrations. So he's gone, but hopefully he'll come back. They're vibrations that are taken from our vocal cords and put out into the ether or whatever, but they're meaningful. And these words that we have, some of them are what I call wobbly words. And so when I say a word, it might mean something completely different to you. And so it's a good habit to not only essentially learn what the word truly means, the foundation of that word, and be purposeful in how you present that word, but also to get feedback from the person that you're speaking with, that they are on the same plane with you, that you guys are talking about the same thing. And words like love, toughness, right? And dog training, toughness, positive, right? What's positive for me? Somebody that like is a skydiver or something like that. I'm not a big fan of heights, right? Might be something completely different from that person, what I think is positive. And so then we can get to the why as well once we have some common understanding through definitions and through root meanings of words. And so then we start to get into the epistemology, the study of the actual knowledge that we're trying to convey by getting the root word of the etymology of the word. I love you, Teresa. It's kind of fun. How does ignoring the dog help? Curious, just think. Sometimes the dog needs to just be. I think my connection went bad. He just texted me. I'll see if he'll click the link again. And hopefully he'll come back on. Sometimes we give to our dogs way too much attention, and sometimes the dog just needs to experience the human world and come to the conclusions on their own, and it becomes a part of this micromanagement aspect of the relationship that we spoke about earlier, where we feel like we need to manage every aspect of that dog's life instead of giving them the freedom to discern and to learn how to exist in the human world. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, he's back.
What's up, guys? I don't know what happened, man.
You're good, dude. It's all good, man. Technology is sometimes a bear, but I've been chatting it up with my buddy Teresa. If you don't know Teresa, she's an amazing human being. I love her.
Hi, Teresa.
So we just had this. So I just talked about this. Maybe you can give your insight a little bit. How does ignoring the dog help?
All right. So it depends on the context, but assume we're talking about like the sending away. So let's say you have a dog that is very pushy, right? Or a dog that maybe a puppy that barks in the crate. If a dog is displaying some type of behavior, self-reinforcing, whatever, to kind of get pet or barking to get out of a crate, a lot of times if you ignore the dog learns another pathway to get what they want. The dog is doing something because they believe that their actions are going to cause a good outcome. Like, let's say a dog that wants to bark in a crate. Puppy barking. The puppy is barking. I don't look at the puppy. I don't say anything. The puppy's quiet and goes to relax. And all of a sudden, oh my goodness, whoa, what's up? You exist. And the puppy's like, oh, I can actually get what I want by doing another behavior, right? So ignoring the dog in a lot of cases helps the dog to learn how to go relax. I like J-Jack a lot. He talks
My
about,
dude.
he's awesome, man. He talks
Yeah.
about the 4 windows. And
Yep.
when you give the dog a chance to, like the dog wants to be pet, you ignore the dog will, a lot of times they'll go choose to go relax. It's just the dogs are always in a certain mindset of just like, imagine if like you're like a billionaire, you could go do everything all the time 24/7. Just it's just constant like dopamine rush and just I get everything at once. There's no need for me to relax. I can go do this and then instead ignoring a dog a lot of times helps them just to learn how to relax in the state of mind where they're in, where they're like, oh, there's people around, I gotta go get pet by everybody. They don't realize they can actually go relax, and it does become like an anxious behavior sometimes, or even stressful. I hope that answers the question pretty good. I hope that's the right context you were looking for.
Yeah, let us know. And I like what you were saying about the crate, right? And I was talking about how it allows a dog the freedom to discern, to exist in the human world, right? Where we don't need to manage every aspect of this dog's life. And what you do is you start to build anticipatory or anxious behavior, right? And the way that the dog's mind works, because it goes up to the limbic system, where we have and it does have a little prefrontal cortex in the dog, but nothing like we have. We have a huge outer buffer of our brain where we can actually have a lot different capabilities with our thought process, and where the dog truly lives in that moment, right? And so when they're living in the moment and we're giving them cues that are like, I need to get reinforced, I need to engage all the time, it doesn't allow them to settle into the moment of just being a dog.
Yes.
And that's what I think people want. It's just a cool dog, man. I want my dog to go camping with me. I want my dog to go to the farmer's market with me. I want, and that's how it starts. And because we're nurturers by nature, we want to touch, we want to feel, we want to nurture. There he goes again. You need the D. It's okay.
There we go.
But
is on. Sorry, guys.
Okay, good. And so that's where it's like, look, we're overlaying human perception on the dog. Let the dog be. Let the dog do. Right. Stop talking. And then that's when I start breaking the habits of don't talk to your dog for 24 hours. And then after you've done that, I come back and give me the results. And if you talk to them during that time, the 24 hours starts again. And then the second phase of the next level is don't touch your dog for a week. And a lot of people, man,
that's a hard one for a lot.
That is a hard one, even for me, you guys. That's the other aspect of this. Like, it's like, this is, but it's, I see the value. I know the why behind this. And do you know what it reminds me of, dude? Is like in Catholic, we started out with some crucifixion and prophecies talk of the early of the conversation here. But in a Catholic religion, we fast and we give something up for 40 days during Lent. And we're coming on the tail end of that. It was just Easter where we celebrated the resurrection of Jesus. But during that time of Lent, we give up something important to us to reflect on the life of Jesus and his 40 days that he fasted in the desert.
Amen.
And it's essentially, man, it is such a learning experience for you as an individual to gain control of your bodily desires, that you essentially become spiritually stronger.
Yes.
And in some aspect of this, I got to attribute like the desire to always touch, the desire to always placate, to guide, to manage our dog. When we start to withhold that based on the knowing why, it strengthens the bond. It strengthens the relationship that you have with this animal.
Yes, it's completely opposite of human nature. You would think, the more I love on him, the more he's going to love me. But it's completely opposite. It's like the more I let the dog be and show him, like, I'm here for you, but also don't do X, Y, and Z. Like, just go be a dog. Dude, like every time you'll end up closer with your dog. Like, it makes no sense on the human end. So as dog trainers, it makes sense. But on the human end, nobody would just assume, the more I just ignore my dog and let him be, the more he'll love me. And, and it's totally opposite of human nature. It's insane.
Yeah. But when knowledge through experience, once you've done this, right? Then it's so much more meaningful because now we've experienced it. We're on the other side of it. Now I can touch my dog, but guess what? I know the importance of withholding and structuring that relationship. So even though I can do that, I choose to approach this relationship in a more meaningful way.
It's huge. It's really, really big. Most, I would probably say, I have this dog recently. This is really funny. He's like he's an English bulldog, but one of the ones that are just like high energy, wants to play 24/7, super pushy. So
Okay.
get this, man. This goes right along what we're talking about. I meet this, his name's Archie. If you're watching, hey, what's up?
What's up, Archie?
Yeah. So I meet this lady. She says she has not been able to have guests in her house with him out of the crate for a while. So here's what happens. Anybody comes over, he will jump, immediately run, grab the toy, and then slam for hours. 4 hours, dude.
Being insistent. That's what I call it. Insisting that you play with me now, right?
Yes, for hours. They could sit on the couch. He's on their lap. Boom, 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 boom. She just has to put him away. And then, so I meet her, eval. I walk in, of course, I'm expecting him to jump. And these little dogs, usually I'm expecting them. I'm like, yeah, they have some gusto. He's probably going to bite me. I guarantee it. So, of course, he jumps on me. I don't do anything. I just kind of pull him off in the collar. He spits his toy out, jumps up, grabs my hoodie, and just goes ham. I'm like, and she's looking at me. She's like, what do I do? I'm like, oh, nothing. Just get him off. You're good. And so I was like, he's not really aggressive either. Like most trainers at that moment, they would be like, oh, aggression program, e-collar, prong collar. And I was like, dude, he's just frustrated. Like he's fine. So over the course of this 1 hour eval, I'm just hanging out in her house talking to her. He's just grabbing his toy, pushing it. Only difference as we're talking, I'm sending the dog away with my body spatial pressure. I'm just making the dog leave. I would say every time he approached, go, get. And, I'm communicating that through spatial pressure, which would mean to walk into the dog using my body to send him somewhere else. And I would say in 30 minutes, he was on the other side of the living room laying down, just like literally going to sleep. I did nothing. And, and she was like, this is amazing. I was like, this is just space. Like, this is all this is, the constant. He's never been shown like, hey, like, get out of here.
Boundaries.
Boundaries. It was very, very easy, and never had to correct the dog. Didn't, all the crazy. I didn't correct him once. And I come back to her house a few days later for week 1, lesson 1, and he jumped on me once, and she just kind of pulled him off. And then he ran, grabbed his toy, looked at me, ran to the end of the living room and lay down. And she was like, what? And I was like,
this guy.
See you later. Have a good day. No, but yeah, the first thing we did, here's the thing about play too. I put play on a cue. You ready? I tell the dog when we're going to play, when we're done.
Me too.
And so he likes to express himself through play. And I use play to let the dog express himself. So I'm like, hey man, let's go to the gym. And when we start play, you can go grab your toy, dude, ram it into me if you want. This is the time. We're in the gym. You can express yourself.
This is the window of play, right? We're in the window of play, like Jay Joff talks about.
Window of play. You can do almost whatever you want to do. There's still boundaries in play. But yeah, this is what you like to do. Let's do it. And then since we started that, he's like been an angel in the house. And he, she goes out, you ready? He's like, let's go. Guests come over. And he just like, maybe he'll jump a little bit still, but she handles it. But he's like, he'll just go lay in the living room and just hang out, like without a place command. They don't have to. Yep. We didn't even really work on place command, I don't think.
Yeah, they prefer that too, and it's like this. That's what I tell people is like, remember I was saying earlier about this is stress. Like this is a stress response. Your dog doesn't know what to do. We are, and it's so important, man. Like, observe the dog, dude. Like a lot of people come in with a preconditioned notion of what exactly I'm going to do here.
Yes.
Take the time to observe the dog. When we look at science, we call this a science and an art. The scientific method comes up with a hypothesis, right? But the first step of the scientific method is observation, right? And so we need to observe that that is the truth, like looking at what has occurred and what is occurring now, ongoing. Objectively, not subjectively, but objectively. Subjective is your perception, whatever. We won't get into that philosophical discussion. But and realizing like, look, this is a manifestation of frustration.
Right.
This is just miscommunication. And just like when we start to communicate, oh wow, the play window is open, then we also have to communicate the play window is closed, right?
Yes.
And that's for me is all done, right?
Yep.
And once
Same.
I've established a relationship with that dog, and I've said all done, then they might get a correction. Be like, no, dude, I said all done.
Yep.
Like this needs to be a boundary of like, look, we know each other, we're good. All right, knock that shit off right now. Stop. Right. Right. And so let's go back to the comments. We're starting to have them pile up here. Thanks for having shown the definitions, of course. Spencer wants to know, did I miss your guys' rules for clients inside the house?
Well,
We talked a little
Spencer,
bit about.
what's up, man?
What's up, Spence?
Brother?
Spencer's carrying a refrigerator on the back of his or something. I don't know what's going on.
Spencer's I don't know if I should say it, but yeah, no, I won't say it. He signed up for an awesome training course recently, but I don't know if it's public, so I won't tell it.
Okay.
But he's cool. Client rules inside the house, so here's my take on that. I don't use obedience in the house, me personally. Now, is it wrong to? No, not at all. But me as a dog trainer, I don't use obedience, and I typically don't push obedience on my clients in the home either, because here's what I do, though. It doesn't mean free reign. The dog is up to its own devices. But my rules for all my clients is they make the rules. So if they want the dog on the couch or not, if they want the dog in the kitchen or not, if they want the dog jumping on people when they come over, if they want the dog to play in the house, like they make the rules and I help them apply it. So here's a common thing, though. The only command I typically use in the house is go, which is like, get away from me, go.
I use get. Yep, we talked about that earlier.
But I let all my dogs, they can meet guests in the home, but here's what I do. I'm constantly showing my dog what the boundaries are within the home. I want my dog to not have to be on a place board for 5 hours in the house. Instead, I want my dog to know that, hey, you can be free. You don't have to be crated all the time once you're self-sufficient in the home. If your dog destroys stuff when you're out there, of course, he's crated. But when your dog is out of the crate, you're actively using the dog's decisions to teach what the boundaries are. So for example, a dog comes into my home, they're free most of the time when they can handle it. And they're free with the other dogs. I'm letting them be dogs they have a leash on. My dog gets on a table. I don't immediately punish the dog for getting on the table, but I start showing the dog there's a boundary. Hey, I pull the dog away. No reward, right? No, good job. Like I just show the dog what the boundaries are. And, most of the time, the dogs after the first week, like they get it really well. They're just like, they just want to be shown what they can and can't do in a way where you're not being a jerk. But eventually I set the dogs up to fail. So there's magically some pizza on the table or something, and I'm not in the room. Maybe the dog's on a 15-foot line or on an e-collar if he's been e-collar trained. And of course, he goes for the table. Hey, no, I've shown you that for a while. You can't do that anymore. There's a bad outcome that leads to getting on the table now. But yeah, I don't have a lot of rules inside the house. I let my clients decide what they want from their dog in the home. And then I show them how to show the dog the boundaries without having to put the dog in a downstay for 5 hours straight.
Yeah, not be regimented like a military.
Yeah. Like
some people don't like that.
No, it's a lot of work for the owner. Most owners, they don't want to be dog trainers. They just want to have a cool dog that they can take places. It's just like well-rounded dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it takes that management and it actually just transmuted into a different form of management.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they ask me all the time. They're like, dude, can my dog sleep with me on bed? Can my dog be on the couch? I'm like, dude, it's your dog. Like, I don't care. Like, it's your dog. I'm here to help you understand the relationship and how to get a cool dog. Now, what you were talking about, like there's consequences, right? And, if we look at the word consequence, just like conflict, right? We got that root right, together, and then sequences. So sequences coming together result in an outcome, right? And consequences can be good, which is freedom, have fun, or consequences can be bad, right? Which is, okay, dude, you destroyed this. I don't trust you. You need to go in the crate for a little bit, right? And so that's where we're the root. I tell you, those words, man, consequences. But at the end of the day, it's your dog. And, we might have some protocols at the beginning to
Yeah.
establish, just like with
Totally.
that bulldog, of like, look, let's show the dog through repetition that this is what this means now, right? Because the dog has developed a neural network or a habit of doing this behavior that's undesirable. We have the 28 to 45-day window of developing that new habit. And then once we've gotten past that window, and then we have been able to reinforce that new habit positively, then we can trust the dog. Now the consequences are going to be more freedom, and you having a better understanding of that particular individual's wants and desires, which are important to that dog, just like
Right.
your wants and desires are important to you, just like mine are to me. And every dog is different, and we can't cookie cutter everything. And we also have to, at the end of the day, some of my clients are like, dude, I love it when my dog jumps up on me and hugs me. I'm like, go, awesome. I'm like,
Hey,
have at it, dude.
I ask all my clients, I'm like, do you mind the jumping or not? And they're
Yeah.
like, honestly, no. And if it's
I'm like,
excessive, I'm like, hey, maybe we should teach a dog a hands up command.
yep.
Teach them
So
how
they'll
to jump up so
structure
that we
it.
can get rid of it. Put context on it. Hey, I didn't actually tell you to do that. Don't do that. You know, so
Yep.
I'll give, there's always a happy medium. People don't
Yeah.
like the dogs. People like the dogs on the furniture, but I'm seeing the relationship, it's affecting it. So I'm like, okay, cool. How about only when you invite the dog up? And usually everybody's like, cool. And it gives the owner the ability to have a little bit of leadership without them even understanding communication too much when they're brand new, but something that affects the dog in a really good way that's easy for them to do. The dog gets up, they're just like, hey, get off. You know, it's like very simple. Yeah, I don't care about jumping if the owners don't. Like, I'm like, dude, it's your dog.
Yeah. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? And
Yeah,
so I tell them, like, look, by you enforcing boundaries on this couch, and it's not saying like you never ever have this couch again, but now we're
yeah,
going to structure a relationship around this couch that makes you more meaningful or a leader in that dog's eyes, and it also makes it so the communications are open in your eyes, and so the dog doesn't become possessive of that space. The dog doesn't jump all over you while you're eating popcorn. The dog, like,
yes,
there's certain times that we do want the dog on there to get love, but there's certain times that, dude, I'm eating ice cream, bro. Like
yeah,
I'm good.
yeah.
Like
Still,
there's but it's meaningful on both sides of the equation, and that's what I tell people is like I'm here to bring fulfillment to both sides. Like, we're a little lopsided here, and we see it manifesting with the relationship kind of going off into the ditch. Let's bring some. That's where the balance, like I get the balance. Like, I don't call myself a balance trainer. I
no,
call myself an individual, because
yeah,
to me, when I say balance trainer, I'm like wobbly, like, but when I see balance to the relationship where I bring both sides of fulfillment that are equal, that's where I can see the value in being the balanced relationship or balance trainer.
yeah. I hate all the balance, purely. I'm just, dude. I just
Just
train
tribe.
dogs.
Yep. Just train dogs, be an individual, I'll learn from everybody, dude. I'll learn from
Everybody.
the most positive trainer in the world.
Yes.
Like, I'll learn from Zach George, I'm sure. I don't really watch his stuff, but I mean,
Right.
there's pearls of wisdom everywhere, you guys. And I was talking about the wall of belief. Like, if we believe that this person is full of
Yeah.
shit, then we're gonna miss the pearls of wisdom that
Yep.
they actually have. That it takes an eclectic knowledge base to do this, you guys. We have a lot of variables. We have the human aspect variable, where we have to make analogies and different things that are going to make them understand this in a way that they're going to be able to carry it forward. We have the dog aspect of this equation, where the dog is a variable, where whether it's a working high drive dog, whether it's a lazy hold on, let me hide this. Why it's a lazy bulldog, if it's a Bernedoodle, right? Or we have to understand different approaches on how we can read the dog, how we can implement changes, how we can get the human counterpart to understand it. And then the third variable of this equation is the environment, right? You're in Akron. So I've trained dogs in Brooklyn. I've trained dogs in LA. I've trained dogs out in the sticks of Missouri,
That's awesome.
right? And so I've been everywhere around the country, and it's cool to have that eclectic knowledge base. In fact, it's mandatory to learn from everybody that we can. And just like I was saying earlier, we all have something to teach each other and learn from each other. It's just being open to do so.
Yeah, I think I've picked up so much good information from like purely positive trainers who I would say aren't having the best interest of the dog, like big ones, but I can watch them knowing I don't really like the way they train and be like, oh, that's gold. Like, I'm going to
Yep.
use that. That's going to help a lot of dogs, like, so you can, if you start getting an ego and you start saying, hey, I don't like this person, X, Y, and Z, dude, you're missing a learning opportunity, because if your best interest is the well-being of the dog, you're going to take everything good and you're going to use it. You know what I mean? So you can never let yourself not like somebody so much unless they're just blatantly abusing dogs and there's nothing. But
Yeah,
I mean,
unless they're a piece of shit.
yeah,
Don't
dude,
learn
if you're
from
just
them.
like that, then you shouldn't train dogs. But
Yeah, there
you
are
learn
people out there.
from everybody. But there's a lot of those out there, man. There's a lot of people who like think they're doing something good, man, and they're like really big trainers, and it's like that's not good at all, and it's
Yeah.
really bad. But
Yeah. Well, and this gets us to Nate's question. So I will this is Jagu watching on YouTube. I have similar issues as you describe. I have a 2 2-year-old dogs. We have 2 weeks. One dog constantly avoids me and follows my wife like he's attached. Yep. And it's hard, man. Like 85-90% of my clients are women.
yeah,
Right. And what I tell them is like, look, I love the nurturing aspect of you. I love that side of you. That's why I love my wife, right? But my wife's good at this, but other people, they just have a hard time of grasping the boundaries that they need to implement. And it's like, look, I know and I love who you are as a nurturing individual. I think that's awesome, and I want to acknowledge that. But you've hired me, and here's the observations that I've made. We need to have that nurturing aspect of you kind of take a passenger seat during the role of change that we're implementing in this life. And that more assertive you, which I know is present. And sometimes I have to ask them what they do for a living. If they're a nurse or somebody like that, it's like, well, imagine a patient is not well. And how do we be assertive that they take their medicine? We do our job to get them better. Or their teacher, whatever it is that they do. I try to find an analogy that's going to help them understand the importance of getting the nurturing aspect off the hands off the wheel, letting her sit passenger, and having the more assertive role that you have within you start to drive the change that we want to see in this relationship. And but not shaming them. I never shame my clients. I never ever any of that stuff. I want to celebrate them, and I want to acknowledge who they are as a special individual. But it just is inconclusive or not conducive. There we go. Conducive to the relationship that they want to have out of this dog. And that's good with having the mentors, man. And Nate wants to know, tell the people how to find a mentor and how did you do it?
Okay. So when it comes to like, when I'm passionate about something, I kind of like just kick in the door and like, I'm going to find something, so like once I started getting progress, so I got my dog, watched probably every single video Nate and Larry have, like every single one multiple times. It's not even funny. Like, I'm nuts, dude. Like, I was taking notes and like, I'm literally like, it was crazy, like borderline addiction to dog training. But when I started, I went to Nate's channel, and it doesn't have to be any giant dog trainer, small. It just has to be somebody who knows a lot more than you in any subject. But I went to Nate's channel and noticed that he does free consultations for, maybe signing up for his virtual training program. So I called him just wanting to know about the virtual training because I wanted some more help. And I was like trying to become a trainer at this point. And I called him, and literally it was supposed to be like a 15-minute call. It was like an hour of him just talking and me just listening, taking notes, just like, I can't believe I'm talking to Nate Schoemer right now. This is insane. And then that was that. He kind of gave me some good info. But then I think after that, he started, we started talking here and there. And I sent him some videos maybe. And he was shocked at one of the videos. I had my dog Mateo. He's a Bernedoodle, but he's doing like Malinois heel prancing, and like really cool stuff, which I just thought that's what people wanted. So I'm like, this Bernedoodle is going to be super cool sport dog. And he really was impressed with it, which I just thought it was normal. And he shared it with a bunch of people. And ever since then, he's been like, dude, I can't believe you did that with your dog, just by watching my videos. That's insane. And I was like, I didn't know. I just thought it was normal. And then we started talking like that. But I would say if you have passion for something, then that would indicate that you have this innate desire to get better. And through getting better, you're going to get to the point to where you don't know, you're unsure, and that's going to cause you to reach out. Like I was literally probably emailing every trainer that I knew just to get a phone call with somebody. And Nate happened to be the guy that picked up. And I was just willing to pay somebody just to talk. Like I was like, dude, like whatever trainer I can find, I have these questions. I just want to know. And it just so happened that Nate was a really cool guy. I was like, dude, you're sick. I'll help you out, because he just loves helping other trainers. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like you just got to find a trainer that you like how they train, not like what they say, but like how they train, and somebody who's fair to dogs, and just go learn from them. You know what I mean? Try everything you can to just, get conversations going. Any questions you have, like I don't know. It was like an interesting way. I don't know what I would have done without having Nate and Larry talk to me, though, because they've helped me with some pretty difficult times with dogs. And I think me not knowing anything, if I didn't have that guidance to know, like somebody there to be like, I sent them a video and they're like, hey, that was straight up wrong. Like you made a mistake. That was wrong. And for me to be able to hear that helps a lot, because I was like, oh, I probably did this right. Whole time it was incorrect. And to have somebody there that knows more than you to be able to tell you like, hey, no, try this instead. What you just did was not really the best. Like that's gold. It's gold. Like I love correction. Yeah, I'm a talker. I just think to find a mentor, you just have to have that passion to be like, I need somebody that knows more, because I'm going to be wrong. And if I don't know I'm wrong and I don't get it fixed, I'm going to continue on this route. And then, you don't want to destroy dogs. Just find somebody that you like, you know what I mean? And you'd be surprised. Most people, if you just go to them humbly and you respect their time, they're like willing to hang out and have a conversation. You know what I mean? Most people are.
Yep. Well, and that's where I do these live streams, you guys, is because of the conversations that I've had with various dog trainers. I mean, I do them so I can learn. That's my selfish reason for doing these. But if you learn as well, then guess what? We're all in this to help dogs. And so if you can gain knowledge, if you can gain mentors, and I remember one of my shadow students called me, or she let me know, hey, look, everybody I reached out to, you were the only person that got back to me. And it's like, well, you know what? We belong to a competitive world, but we also belong to a world with a lot of egos, a asocial attraction with some people. So just be aware that there's some people out there that are going to rub you the wrong way, but there's also people that you're going to gel with, and find those people. But also look at the outcome, look at the dogs they're producing. That's how I found mentors. I was like, who trained this dog? I was at a convention, a dog training convention a long time ago, and it's gotten a lot more. We're able to keep in touch and talk to people so much better with this technology that we had. I didn't really have it back then. I mean, probably 20 years ago. My goodness.
Right.
But now we do. And so it lends itself to learn. And just like you guys are all watching this right now, that you're learning. I hope that from the conversation that we're having, and that was my goal with these, is like, look, and another thing that my shadow student says, that all my mentors that I have found, I've watched on your live streams.
Awesome.
And I'm like, that's so cool, man. And I've got plenty of live streams with Larry. I got plenty of live streams with J-Jack. I got plenty of live streams with Nathan. I got plenty of live streams. I haven't got a live stream with Tony Anchetta yet, which is one of the things that I'm going to do. But he does the obedience aspect of training that I definitely would like to point you to, Austin, that changed my mind, changed my whole world as far as my approach to dogs. And it's like, and sometimes, like Nate says, your abilities are impressive, seriously impressive, Austin. Like, keep it up, buddy. Well, and that, sometimes when I'm working with my clients, I see more talent in some of my clients' kids than I do see in my colleagues. All right, that people that are, that struggle at this stuff, where their kids kind of have an intuitive gift. And I think there is, because there's an art aspect of this There's some people that are born artists. Like look at the Mozart. Look at the. I mean,
Yeah.
look at Ryan Sheckler, right? That when he was a little kid, starts hucking themselves down 20 sets, and that's a skateboarding reference, you guys, just so you know. But now
Plan
he's
B.
older. Yeah, Plan B, right? And these were kids, and I just was like, "Whoa, dude, these guys are amazing!" And so, hone that talent that we're born with, and that's why I have Austin. That's why I want to have new upcoming dog trainers on to talk to them, because this is a brain trust of people that care for the dogs, that want to bring our understanding of these wonderful animals to the next level, and so that we can all learn and gain knowledge. Teresa says just being, like to just be, right? I love that. Just for me,
Yeah.
I meditate, I pray, and sometimes with all these distractions that we have, right, sometimes our attention is pulled all the time, the endless scroll. I've been on an endless scroll for like 2.5 hours once, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, and then I'll go back on another endless scroll. Like, there's all these temptations to preoccupy our mind and our attention. We live in an attention economy, and to just
100%.
be present, right?
100%.
You got to go pretty soon.
No, I'm pretty good.
Okay, good. I see you looking over. He's in the library, you guys. So I want to make sure that you had. Yep. The book. Remember the library we just talked about? The book and freedom. Major skill for pet dogs, but for more so for the people too. So not just for your pet. There's an exercise that we call sit on the dog. Have you ever heard of sit on the dog?
No, maybe I've heard of it. I haven't had it called that. What is that?
SOTD is sit on the dog, and it essentially means you go grab your dog's leash, you go grab your dog, and then you sit on their back. No, just kidding. You go and you sit on the leash, and then you do nothing.
Oh, okay.
And let that dog start to settle down. And once that dog starts to settle down, that's how we start the walk from a calm mindset, right? So the dog's not throwing himself off the door, but banging, going crazy. Now we go grab the leash, we go do all the cues that have fired up that dog before, and now we just sit down and relax and chill, like, read the newspaper. I mean, I don't think they have newspapers anymore, but read your iPhone.
Read your iPhone.
Right. So sit on the dog. Mr. Oak says, that's awesome. Thank you. Very welcome. Thank you for being here. Very helpful tips for destruction, or the discussion, not the destruction.
The destruction, man. Yeah, we can get destructive.
Remote collar tone is great for teaching indoor boundaries. Have either of you tried that? I have not, man. I would love to. I've taught it. I mean, I know that it's baked in with some of the boundary fences. So some dogs through some pretty heavy, aversives have gotten that tone wired in, but not on a good level. So Nate has this program where he does the tone to indicate and teach boundaries to his dogs. So,
yeah, I've used the tone a little bit with
get an Amazon delivery.
Recall a little bit, just like barking in a crate sometimes, but I haven't really messed around with the tone too much. The way Nate uses it is really, really cool though. Almost like a negative reinforcement and positive punishment, or escape avoidance training. It's like a lot going on there, but it's cool. Yeah, it's basically having the tone be a condition to teach the dog how to escape something, or and that way you don't really have to use a positive punisher or leash pressure. So it's a cool way of negative reinforcement plus positive punishment plus escape avoidance.
Right. And when we say negative reinforcement too, like, I mean, it also could be positive reinforcement as well, because it could be an indicator of I'm getting paid. I need to run to my dad. Right. And so, but the negative reinforcement aspect of it is just like we have the tone every time we sit in our car, start it up, bing, 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 bing. And then what do we do? How do we turn it off?
Seatbelt, buddy.
Right. So then we do a behavior. So it reinforces the behavior of turning off the seatbelt and to get that bing, bing, bing to stop. And so that's negative, taking something away to reinforce the behavior of buckling that seatbelt. And a lot of my clients, they could care less about all the quadrants and stuff like that, but it's good to be able to, Larry is also super easy to get contact with, super helpful. Larry's one of my dear friends. So love you, Larry. I've actually messaged him just now, let him know what we're talking about him.
That's
I've
awesome.
learned so much from Tony. So this is Tony Anchetta, Keeler dog training. So it's Keeler, right? Which a lot of people don't like. They have a totally misconception about what this system is. And because of the books were written back in the 30s, I don't think I have any. I think they're on my dog. I have
I'm
a dog
curious to check it
library.
out.
Yeah, because it is. I mean, it is pretty harsh the way he writes. But when I went through it, I'm just like, man, this is one of the most effective and gentlest and fairest methodologies I've ever learned. And it's cool to apply some of that old school technology. And just so you guys know, I have a board and train right next to me in the crate. She's drinking water right now, but she's been sitting here this whole time being a good girl while we've been having this live stream, because this is purposeful of like teaching her to just be. So I practice what I preach. Please get me some dog trainer friends I can learn, study for big hours. Maybe thanks, Austin, for helping me.
Kathy.
Kathy. All right, Kathy. Nice to
Yeah,
meet you, Kathy.
she's awesome, man. She's one of my clients, dude. She's really cool. She's doing great work with Rocco.
Good. Go give Rocco a big scratch from Bow Wow Bill, please, Kathy. All right. I'd love to become a dog trainer one day. That's definitely my goal. I look forward to so many trainers, including Austin. Keep working
Abby,
at it.
thanks. Appreciate you.
What's her name?
Abby.
Hey, Abby.
Yeah,
Thank you for
awesome,
being
dude.
here, Abby. All right. Kathy wants to know if we can explain the difference between negative punishment and positive punishment.
Oh, this is really good. A lot of people struggle with this one.
Okay.
And you can have your intake on this too. This was like a big thing. I actually talked to Larry about this a lot. The main difference is the outcome. So think about, well, first I'll break it down. Negative reinforcement, for anybody who doesn't know, is the application of, let's say leash pressure, teaching the dog how to shut it off to reinforce a behavior, where reinforce a behavior means the dog wants to repeat the behavior. So the dog learns that, oh, I can escape leash pressure if I sit. The leash pressure turns off. And then usually a reward is presented. You can present, sometimes you don't. Where positive punishment, positive in this case would mean adding, negative means taking away. So positive punishment would mean adding something that is punishing to the dog, where if you see it through the dog's eyes, sometimes my punishment has nothing to do with physical force. Sometimes it's a spray bottle, sometimes it's pet corrector, sometimes it is a leash pop. But the main difference really that I see a lot of is, especially learning a lot of TWC stuff, is a lot of people, like, I break down punishment where I have an interruption of something first. Like the dog is blowing up, reacting, and I will interrupt that behavior where I'm like, I'll mark it with a no. And the dog is barking, I say no, maybe I'll pop on a leash or something, the dog stops. But then at that point, I will go on to the dog and then go to the dog and say, hey, stop. And I'll do a couple reps of like light leash taps, and I'll just be with the dog. I call it a punishment event. But let's say, and I'm kind of getting all jumbled up here, but I'll start with negative reinforcement. If I want the dog to sit and I pull up lightly on the leash, or I'm just tap, 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 tap the leash, the dog sits, I stop. Now let's say I want the dog to stop reacting to something. So I say no, and I go pop, 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 and the dog stops reacting. The difference between what I did with the sit and what I did with the reactivity, there's like no difference. The dog is just escaping the pressure of the leash and stops barking. But in this case, in a lot of cases, the dog was never punished, because the dog is just going, oh, okay, cool. You want me to stop barking because the leash is feeling the leash tapping me. Where positive punishment, the difference between the two is you have to go on and actually punish the behavior. The dog has to perceive it as bad. Like, it doesn't always mean physical force though, but the dog has to be like, I don't like doing this behavior. This is a tricky one. It's not really tricky, but I've found that a lot of people don't truly understand punishment on a deep level.
Yeah.
And
that's meaningful to the dog.
That's meaningful. You know what I mean? It's negative reinforcement reinforces a behavior. So let me break it down. I'm telling a dog to sit, and then I'm going tap, tap, tap on a leash. They sit, boom, dog blows up to react. I'm going, no, pop, 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 the dog stops barking. The difference between that is after the dog stops barking, I go on and I actually start the punishment event where the dog is going to go in a little bit of emotional distress where he's like, oh, my guy, he's like disappointed in me. Like it really becomes not about force. I'm a very light-handed trainer. But all of my dogs, when I'm like sincere with them and I'm disappointed, they're like, oh my goodness, like my guy is mad. And I'll go to the dog and I'm like, hey, stop. And I'll like tap the dog on the nose, or I'll pop the leash a couple times. Or sometimes in rare cases, I will say no, tap, tap, tap. The dog stops barking. Then I walk away from the dog and the dog cannot get to me. And I leave the dog out there for a minute and he's like sitting like, oh, I can't get to my guy. He's on a tie back. And me leaving the dog is punishing. The dog is like, I blew up, he stopped me, and then he left. So me blowing up causes my best friend to leave my side while the thing that the dog blew up on is still there. And then I go back to the dog, and 9 times out of 10, the next rep, the dog is playing with the dog it's barking at, or I kind of jumbled that up a lot, but the only difference between negative reinforcement and positive punishment in this case is that the dog perceives negative reinforcement not as something like bad inherently, where the punishment, the dog perceives it as, oh God, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, to stop behavior versus wanting to increase the, and here's what notes that I've written about this too previously, where positive punishment is adding something unpleasant to decrease, right? So anything that's punishing, we want to decrease the likelihood of that behavior happening again, right? So when we break it down, we're positive. Adding something is positive, right? It doesn't mean good, right? It just means adding something. Negative means taking something away. So we're adding a behavior, we're adding something to decrease the behavior, right? And so like a dog jumps on a guest, quick, firm. That's the other aspect of this too. Meaningful.
Intensity.
Right? This has to be like, that's where I get into discussion of like nagging corrections. Like this is not a meaningful. In fact, we're toughening up the dog to maybe make this a negative reinforcing to behavior, because now the dog, the punishment hasn't been so meaningful to the dog that it makes them not do it or decrease it. The punishment is nagging, and so it's not as meaningful that it needs to be, so it becomes a form of negative reinforcement. So the dog realizes, I need to just battle through this to get to what I want, and then it starts to toughen them up and increase the likelihood of the behavior. Okay, so that's where punishment is a huge topic in dog training, where it needs to be. We need to talk about punishment and an aversive, unpleasant or aversive, right? And we got to look at if we want this to be tied to us, or if we want the dog to figure it out based on their experience, the consequences of their environment, right? And then negative punishment, same thing. We're looking at decreasing the behavior, but we want to take something good away, right? So we're removing something, and sometimes it could be the ball, it could be whatever the dog is wanting, or it can be the dog themselves. Like sometimes I'll put the dog away, like, dude, you're being an idiot. You're going up and just chilling for a second, And so negative, removing something, including the dog, to decrease behavior. So as long as you're on your best behavior, man, you come out here. It's just like what we were talking about the dog chewing up something. So now we're doing a form of negative punishment by putting the dog away. And so we withhold interactions, or like you were saying, the owner turns away, withholds interaction, and removes the attention that the dog wants, right? What else did I put here? Positive punishment is add something bad to stop behavior. Negative punishment, take something away, something good to stop a behavior. Okay.
Yeah, I think the main difference though, Kathy, honestly, is one, the dog can escape, and the other, the dog can't escape.
Yes.
As simply as I can put it. It's just one, the dog can do nothing to escape it. You're in trouble. You made the mistake. Where one is, hey, turn this off.
So let me see. The dog doesn't perceive negative reinforcement as bad. It can. I mean, the dog needs to. Yeah, absolutely. Because it. I mean, Negative reinforcer. Remember, punishment versus reinforcement. Punishment is to decrease the behavior. Negative reinforcement is to increase the behavior. And so when a negative reinforcement, if we do it at a level that is too much for that dog, then that can become positive punishment. So negative reinforcement can become positive punishment. If we're not careful, if we don't prepare that dog, if the dog is not ready for that moment in the conversation that we're having, then absolutely. So and we can scar a dog too, like not physically, but mentally scar a dog, give them issues of by applying too high of a level of a negative reinforcement where the dog views this as a punishment or a correction when we actually want to reinforce or have a behavior continue. Just be like sitting in the car and then a boat horn goes off, like right in your like, dude, I'm not getting in that car again.
Yeah,
right. So now instead of the bing 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 bing, which let us put the seatbelt on, we have just been kind of traumatized by the level is much higher than a negative reinforcement level should be. And so then it became a positive punishment for a human being not to even sit in that car, and not just sit in that car, but if you see any make and model of that car in the future, you'd be like, dude, I'm never going to get in one of those cars. And so it could turn into superstitious behavior and escape the toe and avoid the stem, right? That could be positive reinforcement, right? Because now or it could be negative reinforcement as well. There's so much to go into this, but this is why we're passionate about this, why we talk about it. But one thing to remember too is that you can lose your clients by getting into these rabbit holes, man. So put it in analogies that the lay person or somebody that's not as passionate about this stuff will understand. And that's why the car analogy helps. But I try not to get too far into the various quadrants and the meaning of it, because then we start getting off into left field. So
I think most of my clients, like, they honestly, you get the few clients who are like, I want to learn everything, this is sick, but most of them are just like, how can I just enjoy my relationship with my dog? Like, you lose people when you start giving homework. Like I used to train where I'm like, cool, we did this today, I want you to go out a few times a day, do come, yes, food. Like, I'm just like, I've changed a lot in my lessons and I've gotten so much better results. Like, most of it, I'm like, hey, you don't have to change anything about your life, but when you're around your dog, do X, Y, and Z instead of A, B, and C. And when you go on a walk, hey, do a couple recalls. Unless the walk is not possible with a certain dog. But like most people, they just want to be able to enjoy their dog. Like a lot of people that I meet, they're not using the fancy stuff that I train their dog during boarding. They're just like, I take my dog camping and he's just running in the lake, in the woods off leash. I'm like, sweet, there you go. And when I say come, he comes, and he doesn't chew up my couch anymore.
Yeah, they just want the framework of understanding that they can apply. It's basically essentially changing their outlook and their perception of their dog, and so that they can move forward with you, a changed person that has a meaningful relationship with their animal. And that's our job to do that. It's not to get all caught up in the woods of theory, but to be able to get them some real good tips that will help them essentially change their lives with their dog. And that's our job, especially when you're taking money, dude. Like, we owe it to them to bring about what they're paying us, right? So me personally, I'm all for learning as much as anyone's willing to tell me. It's so fascinating to see how it all works. And some of them are dead wrong too. Like, some people are like, no, dude, this isn't how it works. And you can tell how they use it because it sounds like positive, negative. And as I was saying earlier, when Austin went away, is that we have wobbly terms, right? And so when I say positive and a positive experience to me, but I'm afraid of heights, and it means something completely different to a skydiver that loves to jump out of airplanes, right? And so we have a totally different aspect of what is positive or good feeling for us, where that's where it's important to get in like the same type of plane of like, what am I talking about here, and making sure that every aspect of who we're teaching, from the parent to the child, whoever's in that family learning from us, has the same understanding of like, what this means for me, what this means for you, what this means for you. Are we all on the same page? Now let's move forward together. Okay. Same here. Working dogs. Yep. Cool, man. I actually have I have to run here to another
Sweet.
appointment. Dude, what do you think? How do you is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would like to mention?
Um, I guess to wrap it up, honestly, I when I go to clients, I'm doing private lessons. I don't even call it dog training anymore. I kind of just call it dog communication. And I tell people, I'm like, when I look at somebody with a dog with problems, let's just say regular problems. He doesn't listen to commands. He just crazy in the house, not aggression, not crazy fear, but just regular dog stuff. I look at somebody and say, oh, cool. They're just not fluent in speaking the language of dogs. Cool. So let's just teach them how to speak the language. And the byproduct of understanding how to speak to a dog is your dog is just really good. So I tell my clients, I'm like, I'm just teaching you how to communicate. I'm teaching you how to speak Italian. And once you know the language, your dog's going to, just have a better understanding. And I tell everybody, imagine that you live with, you move to a country and nobody speaks English if your language is English, and you move in with a family that knows not a lick of English. You're going to always be in a state of stress because you're not going to fully understand what the expectations are. You can kind of pick up a little bit through body language, but let's say you're going to grab a glass to fill it up with water, and one of them in their language that you don't understand starts yelling at you. You're going to assume, oh, I got to put the glass down. Whole time they point at your shoe and your shoe's untied. You thought they were yelling at you because you were grabbing the wrong glass. Whole time they're like, dude, your shoe, it's untied. And that's dogs. Most people, they're talking way too much to their dogs, and the dog does not know anything they're saying, and they think that they do. And then because they think the dog understands, they get frustrated. They're like, hey, no. And I'm like, I don't think your dog understands. So if you have a dog and you can't afford training, you want to actually have a better dog, don't look at it in terms of like dog training or learning how to be a dog trainer. Look at it in terms of, I just want to learn how to communicate with a dog. What fundamentals need to happen, such as saying a sound and then showing the dog what the sound means after the fact, like little things like that will have, like most of my clients, just telling them the fact that you have to say a word, pause, and then move. Like you can't move and say a word at the same time. That has helped so many people. Just understanding that very, very fundamental communication tip is like a game changer. Most people sit down, you know what I mean, all at the same
Yeah.
time.
Timing,
Although Nate
all that.
Popo, I heard some about Nate Popo that you guys like actually click and like tap e-collars, same command at the same time. Is that true?
No, I mean it depends. Like it depends on the trainer, the context, all that stuff too.
Interesting.
Like we have a clicker, right? And we do a click release. And so when the dog hears the clicker, and it's down to the science of like 1.6 seconds, we present the
Yeah.
reward.
Oh,
Right. So
sweet.
just like what you're saying is that the click means I'm getting paid. And then the same thing too, like we have an operant window of exploring behavior that's going to get me paid here, right? And so then dog becomes the creative master of what gets them paid. But I mean, there's so many different aspects of this, of like once you understand the framework, and that's what I love about NAPOPO is that they give you just like we're talking about the quadrants, the advantages of using each system, the disadvantages of each using each system, what dogs they work well for, what dogs they don't work well for, and then you take and then process the information. It's a lot, and it is challenging. But then, how do we apply that to either get gasoline, the ignition, like fire, out of our sport dogs, or how do we bring about stability and calmness to our pet dogs?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting. Gas
yeah.
pedal term. That's cool.
Gas pedal or brake, right? And so
Or the break.
it works both ways, man.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to really put it all together. But it's just like with Ivan too, the TWC. I want to go through that. I've been through Keeler. I've been through so many different schools and learn. And I like to go over and over and over and over again, because just like with the dogs, the repetition is the
Right.
mother of learning. I like to understand something so well that I can teach it. And that's where it takes, like, there's a 3-part process to this too. I tell my clients is like the preparation, the actual experience of that thing, and then the processing afterwards. And do not discount the importance of processing. And a lot of people want to rush through this dog training stuff, man. And it's like, no, slow is fast, less is more, right? And it is all about communication, just like you said, and have baby steps, man. And you have a feedback loop right there with you, with the dog right there, right?
Yeah.
And so learn to talk to your dog. Don't get lost in the minutia of all these theories and everything that's out there. There will be a time and a place for you to learn. And then once you do learn, don't forget to take the time to process it and start to apply it and learn on a different level through the experience of your own life and your personal relationship with your dog and other people as well.
Well said, man. Well said. I think that's so true. You know, if more people just focused on showing their dogs what they want them to do rather than I want my dog to not do this, dude, it'd be a much better place.
Well, and it's, people want to get on step 20 and they went to step 1 and 2 and then they went to 18 and 19 and it's like, dude, no, there's step 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like there's a lot of steps.
Said in the podcast with Nate, you said that a lot of people wanted to know how to get rid of a certain behavior, and you're like, guys, that's like week 7. And then most behaviors that they wanted to get rid of by week 7, they were just gone without ever dealing with it, just because, of course, they're learning how to communicate with the dog and then giving them fulfillment, and they never even had to correct the behavior to begin with because it just went away. Like that's huge. Mm-hmm. That's a big one. And that happens to a lot of my clients, especially with reactivity, believe it or not. Most of the time, if it's like not anything rooted in real aggression, it just like goes away. Like I never have to deal with it with some of my board and trains. But of course you get the dogs who it's rooted in deep trauma, and yeah, you got to deal with it. You got to set the dog up to fail to kind of stop it. But yeah, that's important. You know, you can get rid of a lot of behavior problems just by giving your dog some fulfillment and learning how to communicate with them without ever having to deal with it.
We call it foundation work, right? Yep. By doing the foundation training, we have to realize that the behavior that's being exhibited now is just a symptom of the overall problem. And once we get down to the root or the foundation and start to rebuild it, then the problems naturally go away because the dog has understanding. It's just like that, the frustration and manifesting of frustration of that bulldog wanting to play. But once we start to get to the root of the problem of teaching some boundaries and structure, you know, a lot of this stuff just goes away naturally on its own.
Beautiful, man.
How do people get a hold of you, Austin? What's the best way?
Honestly, my Facebook channel, I have Zero to Hero Dog Training Facebook, or you can just go to my personal page, which I'm more active on, just Austin Laramee. You can send me a message, put a comment. I'm pretty active there. You can go on my YouTube channel. My email is listed. And, you know, talk to me through the comments too. I'm pretty easy to get hold of. Actually, I think my number is posted public on my Facebook page, which probably shouldn't be there, but you know, I don't mind. But
everybody prank Austin. Everybody give him and are you under the, there you are right there, dude. Here, let me make sure I get to add you here. Add friend. I just added you as a friend.
Hey,
Austin Laramee. Yep. We're besties, dude. I could be your dad. Just remember that. That's what I trip out, man. Like as I get old, I'm having fun getting older. But I'm going to put up a link to your Facebook page here. And do you know what's cool, man? Is like more people are watching this from YouTube than Facebook now. It used to be the other way around. So everybody that's watching on YouTube, thank you for being here. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. Hit that like button.
Like it up,
what else? Like it up. I don't want to be braggadocious.
Yeah, man, that's a good word, dude.
It is a good word. And what is it? What else?
It has some gusto to it. I've been using that one a lot too, man. Gusto.
Yeah, gusto. I know gusto. I was whenever the dog charges the door, I'm like, yeah, he's doing it with gusto. So
I love the dog.
Let me see. Thank you for being here. Thanks, guys. Look forward to more, Bill. Yep, I have hundreds, you guys. I've been doing this for many years, and I've had a lot of great dog trainers, a lot of great discussions. Just play it on in the background. I'm working on doing thumbnails and things that Nate is helping me out with that stuff. But mostly this is just for me, have conversations. And if you guys gain value from it, then then share it. I have a wonderful business up here in North Seattle that I love, and the YouTube stuff is, just icing on the cake. But I want to get a lot of subscribers, and if I can make money doing this, and then check out my Patreon too. So if you guys like what I do, you can support me for as little as $5 a month. I think I have a $5 and $20 tier. It helps me with buying my crack. No, just kidding.
I get the rock.
I don't do it. Yeah, no, it helps me with just like I actually need to get some new microphones, and I'm going to be doing some live on location stuff at the Elite Canine. They asked me to come, and they're doing a law enforcement. Dude, I used to so I'll be interviewing a bunch of people there in Kentucky. So a lot of this stuff opens doors, and yeah, so if you guys wouldn't mind, consider supporting me on Patreon. The links in the comments. And I definitely subbed. Cool. Welcome, Abby. Abby's my older sister's name, so I'll always remember that. And Bow Wow Bill on Facebook, YouTube, X. Reach out to me if you guys need any help with dog training, and I do Zoom calls. I do it all. And yeah, I love what I do. So, Austin, stay there. I'm going to say goodbye to you in the studio, but let's say goodbye to everybody. Bye, everybody.
Guys. Thanks for stopping by, guys. It was great, man. Thanks.
Yeah, this was a great one. I don't want to be braggadocious, but I think it was awesome.
No, it was awesome, man. I really appreciate you a lot.
You got it.